Welcome to Haxby Shed. Now I know from experience that my viewers are not really that interested in automotive things, but sometimes you've got to go where life takes you. And in this video I show you how I repair a puncture in the back tyre of my scooter, but I also do a bit of work on the sandblaster. Now this has been here in the corner all the time, but hardly used. But I use it to clean up the rear wheel of my scooter, and then I give that a paint and a lacquer and slip it back on. So I make it fairly fast paced because I want you to stay to the end and not switch off onto something else. So I hope somebody finds it useful. This is my scooter heap. I've had it new since 2005. I used to use it almost every weekday to get to the station or get to the office. These days I only use it a few times a year actually, but yesterday I went into town on it. The sun was out, really enjoyed it. But coming back from town yesterday I got a nail in the back tyre, so I'll keep this really short. It's probably already too long. Let's get on with it. I'm almost certain you can't get the back wheel off without taking the exhaust off, but we'll just check it. Inside here you've got the brake drum. Well, my memory is correct. You can't get the wheel off without the exhaust off. What normally happens is the studs in here seize up, and mine did at one point. I think after the first exhaust change I had that problem. But I've managed to put in stainless. One snapped, had to be drilled out. Usual story. There we go. Right, here we are at the Haxby Shed, likely to be wasting my time, bespoke tyre removal station. 16mm bolt, nut and washer, piece of cork, stamping a hole in it. Maybe. Stick it on there. Put the wheel on there. Need some spacing, whatever. I'll come back to you soon. Slight change of plan. I've put in some 16mm threaded bar because I need something to lever off up here. Next, I need to stop this spinning. This bit of wood should do for the wheel lock. So now I need a clamp to squish the tyre into the well. These might do. I'll let you know. Well, it's popped it off. It took a bit. Had to give it a bit of a smack with a mallet and a bit of wood. This is tubed, so... oh, there you go. A bit more's come off. Right, I'll get the tube out now. I've realised you can't get the tube out like this. It won't come through that gap like it might do on a bicycle tyre. I mean, I get hundreds of you watching this know all this already. So I'm going to have to slip this over the top here. I've clamped it at the back so that the tyre can get right down into the well there, and then we're using a bit of this. Some of you might recognise that. Put plenty on and then I'll lever it off. That's the idea anyway. Do you know, against all odds, this is actually working with this wrecking bar against this pivot with this clamp which is holding the tyre in the well, plenty of washing up liquid, pushing it, and it's taking it off. Look, it's coming. Never say never. Luckily I've got my steel toe cap shoes on. Chances are I'll still have to take it to the scooter place, but my son said, oh, I don't think you'll be able to do that. So that's, a big motivation to prove him wrong. And the tyre has to be popped off the bead on this side as well. Honestly, I'm a slow learner sometimes. I probably should have thought of this in the first place, but this side's proving to be quite tricky. Here's a nuisance. When you get this set and then you start to pump it up, there's too much play in here where the plate meets the frame. So that's another odd job at some stage. Actually, that was a lot easier. It's now just popping off on its own, look. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Well, actually, that was quite easy. You can see the state of this rim inside here. They start off with tubeless tyres, but you just get corrosion and it lifts the paint in here and it leaks. So then you end up with tubes in. Anyway, I'm going to sandblast all of this and give it a coat of paint. But I'll do it after the tyre's back on because I don't want grit inside here. It's just to smarten it up a little bit, that's all. Right, go and find the repair kit now. I've put a rim tape on. It's literally just some thick yellow tape. There wasn't anything on before. Well, it went on easier than I expected. Lots of soapy water, lots of patience. But the trick is to get the tyre bead into this well here, or as far round as you can, and then just ease it on, and it wasn't too bad. So I'll blow it up. If it stays up, I'll mask it off and then get all this done in the sandblaster. Well, I declare that puncture officially repaired. I had to pump that tyre up to 50 psi to get the sealing rim of the tyre to pop onto its ledge. And I was getting a bit concerned, and then it just went pop, pop, both sides went together. For some of us, do you remember when Vitalite margarine used to come in tubs like this? Well, it did in the 90s, and I kept loads and loads of these tubs for jobs like this. I'll have to make a hole in it, but perfect fit to mask off this brake drum. Right, to the blaster. This type of blasting cabinet's very common in small shops, but I made a few improvements to it when I put it together. I sealed all the joints up with silicone. It comes as a flat pack and it takes quite a long time to get all these screws together. It all fitted quite well. It just takes, about a day and a half, I think it took me. I also put this white lip on here with a soft edge, because without it, what happened was that with this door closed and you're blasting, you get a lot of grit on this ledge here. You open the door and it all falls onto the floor. So just having this raised soft lip on there helped quite a bit. The other thing I did was I put a baffle in this far side here. The shop vacuum is connected up to the blaster, and you have it running all the time that you're blasting to try and keep the air clear enough for you to see what you're doing. But there was just a big hole, and I felt it was better to have some kind of baffle over that so that the air has to come down and up a bit. And I thought it might take more air and a bit less sand out, because the sand is expensive. I paid for something, the bag was about £40. Can't remember, aluminium oxide, something like that. It's not a glass sand, but it means it lasts a lot longer, and I can use it over and over again. Next door I've got a 150 litre compressor. It doesn't get as much use now that we've got a lot of battery tools. But this isn't something you could really do from battery. A big electric fan wouldn't really do the job, would it? You wouldn't think this would fit in, but it actually goes in quite easily. So I'll blast this off and I'll come back to you when it's done. You can see what I mean when I say the grit collects on this ledge. Without this soft edge just here, all that would just then fall on the floor pretty much when you open the door. And there's still some stuff on the underside of the seal on the door, which I'm going to vacuum off in a second. So I'll push most of this back in as best I can and then vacuum it off. I suppose another thing that the vacuum does is it helps to take the pressure out of the cabinet as well. So if you have got any holes in here, it's going to blow less grit out into your workshop. But also when I've finished, I still vacuum round all the way around this cabinet to make sure I never get any grit on any of my machine surfaces, as best as I can avoid anyway. Now it's still going to need some rubbing over, but I've got the worst of the corrosion off it. It's not a particularly interesting job doing sandblasting. You can't see what you're doing half the time, and it takes a lot longer than you think it should, in my case anyway. wheel alloy paint, wheel paint alloy, whatever. A couple of coats of paint and a couple of coats of lacquer. Toothbrush to clean this spline out for sure. I've used some brake cleaner, but I've got to make sure there's none of that sand grit in it at all. I will tighten this up properly when the wheel's on the ground. Well, that's done. I don't think I said it's a Yamaha Neos 100, and being 100cc it's pretty nippy. And it'll do 50 miles an hour any day of the week. It's dead quick to get into town. I think they were made in Italy under license. I'm pretty sure it's an Italian engine actually. So I hope that's been useful to somebody. Thank you for watching Haxby Shed. Well, this is the day after I did the work, and the tyre's still up and the exhaust is sealed. Happy days.